So I'm going to make the case to you right now that you and your business needs a podcast to promote yourself. And there's a few reasons for this, but I want to address one of the reasons out of the gate. It might not be what you think. The purpose of starting a podcast out of the gate is not to get famous and get some Spotify deal and become some industry leader and exit the company and sell the podcast and make $1 million a month off of it. That absolutely can happen. Happens all the time. People launch podcasts and rise to the top. And you might do that. I'll be honest with you. Like, there's someone in this group, in this community that might start a podcast and the thing is making $100K a month in a few months. Like, that can happen. It's not unheard of. As a matter of fact, companies I've been a part of that I created podcasts for got millions and millions of views. I think 45 million plus views that I was able to get them on a lot of these podcast clips that were shared on social media, which we'll get to in a minute. And thousands and thousands of monthly listeners, long form, people got really invested into their mission and what they were doing. And it all came from the podcast that we created. And this is why you need to do it as well. I'm a podcast evangelist. I'm a believer in it. I'm a consumer of it. I listen to podcasts daily, weekly. Not so much anymore because I'm creating all the time. I don't have as much time as I used to listen. But the point is that we want to create a podcast, not necessarily to get famous and make $1 million a month out of the gate. That's the end goal. But instead to create time blocks, places in which you create content, right? This is part of the core pillars of the content that you're going to create. The podcast is one of them. Again, this is optional. You don't have to do this. Just going to place a heavy emphasis on doing it. The dividends pay massively. It takes a long time. It takes quite a bit of work. There's planning, there's preparation. You're likely not going to be good on the first episode. Maybe you will, but the fact remains that if you want to grow and scale your business, if you want to become an industry leader, if you want to be respected, if you want to interview your clients for testimonials, if you want to interview your vendors and give them place, the podcast is the perfect place to allow this to happen. Now, there's a lot more to it than just, recording and putting stuff out there. There's some structure that we have to identify here. And I want to jump into that by addressing some of the platforms that we can use out of the gate. I'm going to get into the setup a bit after that, but I want to jump into some of the platforms that I've used to create podcasts remotely. And that's an important topic. Podcasts require a lot of planning, okay? Planning and preparation. And time is a limited resource. You likely don't have a lot of it. So we have to do this in the most efficient way possible. And the most efficient way possible to record a podcast is not setting up some studio like this, having all sorts of lighting and all this expensive gear. It's using remote tools, right? Using Zoom, using Google Meet, or using Riverside, which is a platform I'm going to show you right now. So opening up my dashboard here, I am actually in Riverside. And what Riverside is a remote recording studio, effectively. It was created by creators for the sole purpose of conducting high-level remote interviews. So if there's a gold standard that we're going off of, Riverside is it. Riverside is really the kind of the gold standard in remote interviewing. Highly recommended if it's within budget. There is a little bit of a learning curve, but it's pretty intuitive. There's some great tools built in. I can't recommend it enough. I've used it a lot of times, and the benefit being it unlocks the full potential of your camera on your computer and the camera on your guest. They're on their phone. Likely people are going to be on their phone or their laptop, and we want to maximize the audio quality. We want to maximize the video quality. So this is just basically an introduction into Riverside. I can do a more advanced tutorial down the road, but just something to consider. Type it into Google, search Riverside, think about it. Maybe that's a good option for you. Another great option would be Google Meet. It's free. You can record the interviews. If you're familiar with that, if you use Google Meet, by all means use that. Microsoft Teams. Hey, if you're using that, I'm not going to tell you any other way. The other one would be Zoom. Use Zoom hundreds of times. It's very useful. The drawback there is that the audio and video quality will be somewhat compressed, but that's just the price you pay if it's not in budget to buy a subscription to Riverside. Anyway, moving along. But something else is extremely important when making a podcast. Like, obviously, we got to get it out there. We got to get it on the internet. And a great way to do this is by using what's called Spotify for Creators. Look it up. I'll include a link in the show notes here. What you're going to do is go in there and create your podcast. Okay? This is what the dashboard looks like on the inside. This is a brand new podcast, so I actually have not published my first episode yet, but I've done this numerous times for other companies, and it's a very intuitive interface, very easy to use. Add an episode, drag and drop. I'll do a more advanced tutorial once we get to that point. Once we've actually recorded a full episode, I'll show you the full workflow on how to edit it, how to upload, what to do with it, where to go. But what you want to concern yourself with is just making this Spotify creators account. So go to Google, type in Spotify for Creators. We'll just do it right now. Spotify for Podcasters will actually bring you there. Spotify for Creators, it's likely just going to loop me back into my own dashboard, which it does. But type that into Google and follow the steps. It's very simple to make it. Use the email you made here, marketing@yourcompany.com. Make the podcast, okay? It's going to ask you to verify your email, and eventually, once you're ready to publish an episode, you're ready to go, okay? We'll get more into the specifics about how to distribute it back onto different places, Castbox, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. But for now, make that Spotify account, and while you're at it, add it to the dashboard you got. So something else that's really important is organizing the episode from the onset. I've made this mistake many times. I've recorded at least 50 episodes of my friends and me, just people I was interested in this very room. I would invite them here. It was a DM through Instagram. It was a text. It was a call. It was a conversation. But I never really had any structure to the way that I would onboard people, right? I was just kind of figuring it out. And it's super important that you standardize the process of inviting a guest onto your show, right? You're actually asking them a favor. You're asking them for their time, their perspective, their expertise. They're not getting paid. So we want to make this as professional and seamless as possible. And we also want to make it mutually beneficial for them as well. But we want to start this all by just having a seamless onboarding process where we can gather the information required from them so that the podcast episode, for one, you can include in the show notes their name, where they're from, what their business is, their background, a little blurb about themselves, links to their website, anything, so we can actually promote them. You don't want to be asking through this one by one, or hey, maybe send that to me later. You want to get this before they come into the studio, when they agree to it. And you do this by creating a onboarding form. Now, I created this in Google Forms, and I will just share with you the template, which is exactly this, right? This is obviously branded to our company, but this is how we onboard our podcast guest clients. It makes it super simple. Full name, company name, industry, location, phone number, website links, social platforms that they currently use that's relevant to us, and videos and photos that they can upload, their logo, jobs that they've completed. I use this to cut together as B-roll for the podcast episodes, right? They upload cool photos of jobs they've done. Cool. I'm going to make reels with that stuff. You can structure this form any way you want, but I'm going to include the template that you can just drag and drop, drag your logo here. And the cool thing is, when they fill this out, it's just going to go to your forms, and you'll have the data, you'll have the information. It's nice and seamless. Another thing you want to have is an episode outline. People like to think that they're really good off the top of their head, and some are. I can talk. This isn't scripted. I'm just going off the top of my head. But a podcast that's interesting and engaging for more than 20 minutes is actually quite difficult. It's like keeping the beach ball up in the air. The first time I ever did a podcast with one of my best friends, who's a great intellectual, a smart guy, after about 20 minutes, we're like, you got to have some guidance. You got to have some framework. You got to have some objectives going into it. And this is why creating a podcast episode outline is extremely important. Remember how we used Google Gemini before? The same thing can be done with making the episode outline for your podcast. I'm going to include some prompts that are really useful for this, but this is just a basic one I came up with over a podcast format. Intro segment, guest introduction, setting the scene, transition to conversation, sponsor spot, mention the company, open conversation, natural rapport, building trust, flow, topic ideas, foundation, framing, future, these are all relevant to our company, right? But this is an important part. I highly recommend ending each episode with 10 questions that you basically ask everyone, because it's a call and response. This is really what's going to turn into the best kind of content that's made for short form, for reels that you're going to upload to TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. We want the podcast in its entirety, and the long form. It's going to go on Spotify. It's going to go on YouTube. It might go on Facebook. But really what we're after is the 30, 40, 50 pieces of short form content that we get in one single hour. And you do this by prompting the questions. I'm just going to read a few. What's the number one way that you currently attract new customers? This is what I'd be asking you if you were a podcast guest. Describe your ideal customer in a few words. What's one marketing tool or software that you can't live without? Obviously, these would be relevant or germane to you in your industry, but you get the point. Having this in front of you, sending this to your guest ahead of time so they can think about it, sending them this form, all onboards them. It makes it professional. It makes it streamlined. It's not just, hey, maybe come on my podcast. It's like, here's the form. Here's the episode format. Let me know if you have any questions. Here's the link. Add it to your calendar. This way, you're systematizing the process. You're not creating a job for yourself. You're not creating a job for them. You keep it to 30 minutes to 1 hour. And from there, you're able to chop that up into a lot of very high leverage content. We can get into some more advanced topics where you can do ad reads. You can do top of funnel, mid funnel, bottom of funnel content, but just breaking the ice. Challenge you to do this. I want you to do this. Follow the steps I showed you. Make the Spotify for creators, make your podcast, come up with a name, drop your logo in, create this onboarding form, which I'll have a template. It'll be in the show notes here, and create this episode outline. Again, there'll be prompts, there'll be templates, there'll be stuff you can run with, but just customize it to you. Make it specific to you. Come up with a unique name for you. Maybe you've always wanted to create a podcast. I run into people all the time that have always wanted to do it. Here's your opportunity right here today. Couple clicks, couple minutes invested, maybe half hour, an hour, and you'll be damn near ready to launch your episode. Now, I'm going to make a more advanced tutorial on how to actually record and then edit the podcast. I'll give you examples on how to do that. I've edited hundreds of episodes. I've done it wrong a million times. I'm going to show you exactly how I leverage AI tools to cut those reels, to caption them. Thinking done. We don't want to be manually editing this stuff. There are tools you can use. You upload it, it chops it, it captions it. It even writes the tagline, the caption. It gives it a score. Upload, set, forget, done. I hope this was useful. This is just a basic overview, encouraging you to start the podcast, get the ball rolling. Reach out if you have any questions. I know there's a lot to this. This is just a basic overview on how to get started. And I probably could have gone more in depth on some of it, right? Like the setup on the Spotify side. If you get hung up, reach out to us. We're here to help. But really, this is really just the catalyst. If you get nothing else out of this, I want this to be the catalyst for you to start your podcast, to start establishing yourself as an expert in the industry, thinking about guests. Even if you don't start it today, think about guests you want to have on. People you started in the industry with, people that you've grown in the industry with, your vendors, your friends, your subcontractors, your employees. It's endless. You can have so many people. And think about it in the long term as well, okay? Short-term goals, break the ice, get started, get on camera, iron out the kinks, make our first episode, get it out there. But long-term thinking like, yeah, this is part of the marketing machine for our company. This is a foundational piece that we're going to use to cross collaborate with other vendors, other people. I've done it. The reason I'm telling you this is because I've done it. I've helped generate millions of dollars in revenue. I'm not kidding you, for clients that I've created podcasts for. Say no more. I mean, what more information do you need to hear that you're able to leverage it into, if nothing else, if you don't make millions of dollars off it, it's fun and it's enjoyable. We'll leave it at that. You could make millions of dollars. It could be really fun and enjoyable. It could make millions of dollars and be really fun and enjoyable. Hope this makes any sense. Watch it as many times as you need. Ask any questions that you need. I'm probably going to make some addendums too to clarify some of this stuff. I know I went over some stuff fast here, but the point is, get that podcast started.